From New Delhi, you're watching DD India Live, India's voice to the world. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, coming up in the next 30 minutes. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinkin says 90% of a deal for securing Gaza ceasefire ready, puts onus on Israel and Hamas to iron out differences on remaining issues. Hunter Biden makes last-minute guilty plea to avoid tax trial months after his gun conviction. U.S. President Joe Biden avoids any remarks. In Georgia, school shooting update. Father of the 14-year-old suspect is charged with 4 counts of felony murder. U.S. President Joe Biden calls for a ban on assault weapons. U.S. boosts support against gang violence in Haiti, announces humanitarian aid, urges Haiti to organize elections next year. And in sports, Cristiano Ronaldo becomes first man to score 900 career goals, reaches the milestone in Portugal's UEFA Nations League match against Croatia. Well, on to the details now. U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinkin on Thursday urged both Israel and Hamas to finalize a Gaza truce, standing by U.S. assessments that 90% of a deal was ready. At a press briefing in Haiti, Blinkin said that the United States would be offering further ideas in the coming days through mediators of Egypt and Qatar in hopes of sealing an agreement. However, Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu, in an interview with Fox News on Thursday, denied a U.S. official's assessment that 90% of a deal was ready, saying it's not close.
At this point, it seems to me that it's really incumbent on both parties to get to yes on these remaining issues.
Well, protests in Tel Aviv gathered for a 5th consecutive night on Thursday, demanding an immediate hostage deal. Protesters set off flares on a road they blocked in Tel Aviv, calling on Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu to do more to bring home the remaining hostages in Gaza. Thousands of demonstrators have taken to the streets since Sunday after the bodies of 6 hostages were recovered from a tunnel in Gaza, where they were apparently killed shortly before its troops reached them. And Hunter Biden, son of U.S. President Joe Biden, pleaded guilty to federal tax charges in a surprise move before the U.S. presidential election. Hunter Biden has pleaded guilty to all 9 charges in his federal tax evasion case, catching federal prosecutors off guard as they prepare to begin his trial on Thursday. Hunter Biden had previously denied allegations that he intentionally avoided paying $1.4 million in income tax from 2016 to 2019. Judge Mark Scars said that in pleading guilty, Biden faced a maximum penalty of 15 years in prison and fines ranging from $500,000 to $1 million. He's due to be sentenced on the 16th of December. U.S. President Joe Biden makes no public statements after his son Hunter pleaded guilty to federal tax charges. President Biden has previously said he would not use his executive power to pardon his son. And Georgia state officials have arrested the father of Appalachia High School shooting suspect in connection with Wednesday's shooting that left 4 people dead. Suspect's father was charged with 4 counts of involuntary manslaughter, 2 counts of second-degree murder and 8 counts of cruelty to children. The suspect has been charged with 4 counts of felony murder and would be tried as an adult, officials said. Both had been questioned by local officials last year in connection with an online threat to commit a school shooting, but there was no probable cause for their arrest. Investigations have yet to comment on what may have motivated the first U.S. campus mass shooting since the start of the school year. And U.S. President Joe Biden expressed grief over the school shooting. Biden commended the swift action of school personnel and first responders and called for urgent legislative action, including a ban on assault weapons and universal background checks.
Got to hold parents accountable if they let their child have access to these guns. Let's enact universal background checks, and then immunity for gun manufacturers. And I realize I'm in a rural area like the rural parts of my state where guns, we all have them. And it's not popular to talk about it, but the truth is there's a difference between rational and irrational. Imagine, the only outfit in the world that we can't sue and by law, passed by law, are gun manufacturers.
Well, as November 5th is coming close, campaign for U.S. elections is witnessing series of commitments and promises by the candidates. Republican U.S. presidential candidate Donald Trump vows to turn the United States into the cryptocurrency capital of the world. His Democratic rival promised end to gun violence. Trump on Thursday was speaking in Economic Club of New York. While unveiling his economic vision for post-2024 USA, he tried to assure new age investors. He vowed to make a USA capital of crypto and Bitcoin trade. He said he will create an efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government.
And instead of attacking industries of the future, we will embrace them, including making America the world capital for crypto and Bitcoin. I will create a government efficiency commission tasked with conducting a complete financial and performance audit of the entire federal government and making recommendations.
Well, a day earlier, U.S. Democratic presidential candidate Kamala Harris responded to a Wednesday morning shooting at Appalachian High School in Winder, GA, by saying it is time to end this epidemic of gun violence while she was campaigning in Northampton and Maryland. She promised end of gun violence once she became the president.
It's outrageous that every day in our country, in the United States of America, that parents have to send their children to school worried about whether or not their child will come home alive. It's senseless. It is, we've got to stop it. And we have to end this epidemic of gun violence in our country once and for all. It doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to be this way.
Well, U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinkin said on a visit to Haiti on Thursday that he hoped to see an electoral council established soon to organize elections in the country next year. After a meeting with Transitional Presidential Council Coordinator Edgar LeBlanc-Fils, Blinkin said they discussed the electoral council. Blinkin's visit comes as Haiti continues to battle violent gangs that have taken over much of the capital and started moving into nearby regions.
Critical next step that we spoke about is setting up a electoral council, and the president gave me an update on the important work that's being done there, and we hope to see that stood up soon because that's a critical next step in moving forward and organizing elections for next year.
Well, meanwhile, Haiti has expanded its state of emergency to cover the entire nation's territory the day before the U.S. Secretary of State Antony Blinkin met with Haitian authorities on the island. Prime Minister Gary Conille on Wednesday expanded a state of emergency to cover the entire nation. Kenyan police officers who are part of a UN-backed security mission began arriving in Haiti in June. The state of emergency was repeatedly renewed and other departments were later added. The U.S. is the largest funder of a UN-backed security mission that Henry requested in 2022 to help fight the gangs and reclaim territory. And moving on to some updates from Russia-Ukraine conflict now. Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky demanded quick results from his new top team after the biggest government reshuffle since 2022. Zelensky replaced a string of ministers in a shakeup that sources suggested was a bid for his Home Office to exert more control over a host of issues related to the war, with Ukraine facing major challenges on the battlefield in the east. In his nightly video address, Zelensky said he wanted the government to be more active in dealing with Ukraine's Western allies and investors and in helping troops at the front. He called on his new team to deliver more investment into Ukraine's arms sector, advance negotiations on Ukraine's EU membership bid, work to secure Ukraine's financial stability and deliver more support for the front line. Well, Poland has backed away from claims that a drone likely breached its airspace during a Russian attack on Ukraine in August. After 10 days of intense analysis and a fruitless search, military officials now say they believe no such incursion took place on August 26th. The initial radar detection of a possible drone had sparked alarm in the NATO member country, raising concerns over airspace security. General Mieszek Klitz, as head of the Polish Army's operational command, stated that it's now highly probable no violation occurred. However, he warned that the risk of future airspace breaches remains high as Russian attacks on Ukraine continue. Poland remains vigilant amid growing fears of spillover from the ongoing conflict. And the Biden administration is in urgent talks with Congress to use up $6 billion in military aid for Ukraine before it expires on the 30th of September. The funds are part of a $61 billion package passed in April under the Presidential Drawdown Authority, which allows emergency transfers of U.S. defense supplies. However, of $7.8 billion allocated, only a fraction has been used, leaving $6 billion at risk. With the fiscal year ending soon, officials are pushing to extend the PDA through a continuing resolution, a critical spending bill needed to prevent a government shutdown. Both Democratic and Republican lawmakers who have backed $175 billion in Ukraine aid since 2022 are emphasizing the need for continued support as the deadline looms. And the British government said on Friday it would provide Ukraine with 650 lightweight multi-role missiles worth £162 million to help protect the country from Russian drones and bombing. The Ministry of Defense said, in keeping with the new government's commitment to speed deliveries of aid to Ukraine, the first batch of missiles announced on Friday were expected to arrive by the end of the year. The new supply of missiles was announced as British Defence Minister John Healey attended the Ukraine Defence Contact Group, an ad hoc coalition of some 50 nations at a US airbase in Germany. And the Democratic Republic of Congo received its first shipment of Mpox vaccines to combat the outbreak that has affected the country badly, that prompted the WHO to declare a global health emergency last month. With a population of around 100 million, the Congo is currently at the center of the outbreak, and health officials are counting on the vaccines to help bring it under control. Mpox has been reported in at least 13 African countries. This vaccine is currently the only one approved for use in Europe and the United States and is only available for the adults. However, the company is conducting trials to explore its potential use in children over the age of 12. And brigades fought flames in northern Peru as fire hotspots spread around the country, stoked by strong winds. In the Ancash region, brigade members struggled to combat a wildfire that had consumed over 40 hectares of a pine forest. The civil defense official said there were 21 wildfires around Peru. Many of them were caused by human action. Fires are partly caused by the slash and burn methods to clear land for farming purposes, worsened by the drought. And still to come in this edition of DD India Live. PM Narendra Modi concluded his two-nation visit after concluding a series of engagements with political and business leaders in Singapore. Indian para-athletes continue to shine at the Paralympics with 25 medals in their kitty. And we'll show you designer-dressed fur babies dazzling runway ahead of New York Fashion Week. Welcome back. You're watching DD India Live. I'm Lipakshi Khurana, and moving on, concluding his two-nation visit, India's Prime Minister Narendra Modi arrived in the national capital on Thursday night. While on his visit to Singapore, Prime Minister held talks with top leadership of the country to strengthen ties between the strategic allies. Here's a report.
Prime Minister Narendra Modi visiting the Parliament of Singapore with the Prime Minister of the country as part of his two-day visit to the Southeast Asian nation. The Prime Minister was given a ceremonial welcome by the government of Singapore upon his arrival at Parliament. Prime Minister Modi was accompanied by a high-level delegation including External Affairs Minister and National Security Advisor of India. Prime Minister Modi congratulated the newly elected Prime Minister of Singapore and highlighted the growing bond between the two countries. The two leaders signed 4 memorandums of understanding between the Government of India and Singapore. The MOUs signed included MOU in the field of digital technologies, MOU on semiconductor ecosystem partnership, MOU on cooperation in the field of health and medicine, MOU on educational cooperation and skills development. Prime Minister Modi, accompanied by the host Prime Minister, also later visited a semiconductor facility in Singapore and interacted with Indian interns from Odisha's World Skills Center. The students called the opportunity to meet Prime Minister Modi motivating.
Very happy and excited today because today we meet our Singapore Prime Minister and also India Prime Minister. So I got this opportunity. Thankful to be here today.
I am doing an internship in a 4 Seasons hotel, like a maintenance engineer. Visiting Prime Minister is a very big things.
After visiting the semiconductor facility, Prime Minister Modi was hosted for lunch by Senior Minister and former Prime Minister of Singapore, Lee Hsien Loong. Later, Prime Minister Modi also called on President of Singapore, His Excellency Tharman Shanmugaratnam, at his official residence. Before concluding his visit to Singapore, Prime Minister Modi held a business roundtable with a wide range of business leaders in a bid to boost the business and investments in India.
With the successful conclusion of Prime Minister Narendra Modi's 5th visit to Singapore, a new chapter in the friendship between the two countries has started. The kind of political will showed by the leadership of the two countries and the enthusiasm that is being seen on the ground in both India and Singapore, the relation between the two countries is most likely to reach new heights. In Singapore, with camera person SP Dubey, Akshit Dongre, DD India.
Well, the 2024 edition of the Chief Science Advisors Roundtable is taking place at the headquarters of the United Nations Educational, Scientific and Cultural Organization in Paris. The Roundtable 2024, co-organized by India and UNESCO in Paris. Theme of the event is Fostering Science, Bridging Knowledge Asymmetry and Building Science Advice Capacity Globally. Delegations of 28 countries, 6 international organizations taking part in the Roundtable meet. CSR launched as a Sherpa track during Indian G20 presidency in 2023. The meet aimed to highlight impact of science advice mechanisms in building trust in science. Aim is to generate insights on building science advice capacity to provide a dialogue between chief scientific advisors and delegations of various countries. And India's Union Home Minister Amit Shah will visit Jammu and Kashmir today ahead of the assembly elections. Shah is scheduled to launch the Bharatiya Janata Party's poll campaign and release the party's manifesto during his 2-day visit. The assembly election will be held in the region in 3 phases on September 18th, 25th and October 1st, 2024, whereas the results will be declared on the 8th of October. And Governor of the Reserve Bank of India, Shaktikant Das, reaffirmed India's robust growth trajectory, highlighting key economic drivers gaining with massive changes taking shape in various economic sectors and markets, and the country is geared for orbital shifts. Here's a report.
Reserve Bank of India Governor Shaktikant Das said on Thursday that India's growth story remains intact and the fundamental growth drivers of the economy are gaining momentum.
For the current financial year, the Reserve Bank has projected a growth rate of 7.2%. The IMF has also projected India's growth prospect. They have in fact revised their growth projection for India upwards and have now placed it at 7%. And 2 days ago, the World Bank has also upgraded India's growth forecast to 7% for the financial year 24-25.
During his inaugural address at FIBAC 2024 event organized by FICCI, he said that the two main drivers of growth, consumption and investment demand, are growing in tandem. Das also said financial literacy needs to be enhanced and the technology needs to be leveraged. The new trinity of JAM, UPI and ULI will change the landscape.
The fundamental growth drivers of the Indian economy are actually gaining momentum. They are not slowing, they are gaining momentum. This gives us the confidence to say, that Indian growth story remains intact.
Das emphasized that India's financial sector has repeatedly demonstrated its ability to overcome challenges and crises. He added that the financial sector needs to even further deepen financial inclusion, broaden access to credit and other financial products, and support overall inclusive growth.
All the banking community, both private and public sector, need to have adequate capital adequacy. I think that is the key. We need to build systems and build innovations within ourselves to ensure that we have adequate capital to meet the credit demands of future generations.
World Bank has also upgraded India's growth forecast to 7% for 2024-25.
And in sports, football superstar Cristiano Ronaldo scored the 900th goal of his illustrious career in Portugal's UEFA Nations League group stage match against Croatia on Thursday. Ronaldo secured the historic goal with a volley from 6 yards off a cross from Nuno Mendes to put Portugal 2-0 up in the 34th minute. Portugal went on to win 2-1. Ronaldo was also the first to break the 800-goal barrier, doing so in late 2021 while in his second stint with Manchester United. The five-time Ballon d'Or winner is 41 goals ahead of his nearest challenger Lionel Messi, who is on 859. Meanwhile, Brazilian legend Pelé is third on the list with 765. And now let's get you all the updates from the Paris Paralympics. Well, India's progress at the 2024 Paris Paralympics has been nothing short of historic, with the country achieving its best ever performance so far. India has secured 25 medals as of now, 5 gold, 9 silver and 11 bronze. The latest medal in India's kitty was added by Kapil Parmar. The Indian para contingent has outperformed its previous record set during the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. Here's a report.
Indian para-athletes are on a roll in the ongoing Paris Paralympics, with the country achieving its best ever performance so far, surpassing their previous best medal tally of 19 medals they won at Tokyo. The success is largely due to government support, increased funding and better facilities for athletes. 22-year-old Avni Lekhra continued her remarkable run in parachuting by winning gold in the 10-meter air rifle standing SH1 category, solidifying her status as one of India's top Paralympic athletes. While 26-year-old Sumit Antil delivered an outstanding performance, breaking all previous Paralympic records in the F64 javelin throw event, retaining his Tokyo title and securing another gold for India. 35-year-old Dharambir set an Asian record in the seated F51 club throw event, clinching gold with a throw of 34.92 meters. Shuttler Nitesh Kumar won gold in SL3 men's singles para-badminton, continuing India's dominance in this sport since it debuted in the Tokyo 2020 Paralympics. Shuttler Suhas Yatiraj, who is also an IS officer, returned with another silver from Paris. Although 84 participating para-athletes in Paris were supported by government schemes, were given foreign exposure, mainly in form of international competitions and guided by international experts. Rio 2016 and Tokyo 2020 were the games that put India more firmly on the Paralympic map. 19 athletes from 5 sports travelled to Brazil in 2016, almost double the contingent that competed in London, resulting in 4 para-athletics medals. At Tokyo 2020, India sent 54 athletes in 9 sports, a huge record in terms of participation, and they delivered unprecedented success, winning 19 medals. At the Hangzhou 2022 Asian Games, 303 athletes participated across 17 sports and brought home a record 111 medals, the most India has ever won at an international multi-sport event. These achievements and growth of Indian para-athletes shows India's rise in para-sports. Sports Desk, DD India.
And dogs in costumes hit the runway at Sony Hall in New York City for the Impact Catwalk for a Baby fashion show. 21 dogs, along with designers, models and charities, joined the unique fashion show, which is raising funds for the Animal Welfare Organization. Designers dressed dogs in bright, colorful outfits to dazzle up the runway.
His regal embodies hope, life, force, and resiliency. Layer ensemble, wow, entitled by Louis, a border collie mix. Pretty fabulous for a student from FIT. Preventions and cures for leukemia, lymphoma, and other blood cancers. Gabriel, Lincoln's design incorporates a shade of green. It stands for when life.
All right, that's all for this edition of DD India Live, but let us know your thoughts on the news of the day. For those on the go, you can get all the latest news and updates from India and across the world on the DD India mobile app. The app is available on both Android and iOS platforms. Scan the QR code on the screen to download now. We'll be back with more news as it breaks here on DD India. I'm Lipakshi Khurana from all of us here in Delhi. Thanks for watching DD India Live.